Hi, my name is Dov de Kaiser, and today I'd like to talk about the Magic Wand tool. The Magic Wand tool is a selection tool that creates selections based on similar areas of color. What you do is you sample an area of pixels within your image, and Photoshop creates a range of values above and below the pixels sampled, and it turns it into a selection. And it does this per channel. What that means is that if you have an image with high color contrast, the Magic Wand tool is a very good tool to use. What I mean by that is if you're trying to select a subject with one color out of a background that has another color, this tool is very, very good to use. It's also very good to use, or often very good to use, if you're trying to cut a subject out of a seamless background. Now let me show you how it works. I'm going to go over here to the tools bar and I'm going to select the Magic Wand tool right over here, and the Magic Wand icon, or the cursor icon, looks like a magic wand, obviously, and the shortcut is W. Alright, so I'm going to select a range of pixels, or an area of pixels, and Photoshop looked at the range of values above and below the pixels that I sampled, and it turned it into a selection. And it decides those values, or the range of values, based on the tolerance over here. So if I raise my tolerance by clicking and dragging to the right, now if you look at my selection that it made, it's much, much larger. I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. Now I'm going to click and I'm going to lower the tolerance by clicking and dragging to the left. And suddenly you see that the range of values is smaller, and therefore the selection is much, much smaller. I'm going to hit Control D to deselect, and I'm going to kind of bring the tolerance back to the middle. And another two things that I'd like to talk about in this tutorial is contiguous. All right, contiguous means that all the pixels that Photoshop is going to use to create the selection are going to be connected. So if I click over here, you notice that all these pixels are connected. I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. But now if I lower this and I sample over here, you'll notice that Photoshop creates a selection based out of pixels that are connected over here and other pixels that are in that same range of values, but they're not connected. I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. Now I almost always have contiguous checked. The next three things that I'd like to show you right over here are these modes of selection. The first mode of selection that I'm in right over here, this is create new selection. If I click, you'll see that Photoshop created this new selection, and every time I click, Photoshop is going to create a completely new selection based out of the new area that I click on. All right. The next one is add to selection, and if you look at my icon, or my cursor icon right now, the plus is added to this icon, and now every time I click, Photoshop is going to keep my old selection but add to the new selection based on the new area that I sampled. All right. The next one is subtract from selection right over here. Now, if you look at my cursor, the minus icon was replaced by the plus icon. Now, every time I click, again, Photoshop is going to keep my old selection, but it's going to subtract from it based on the new area that I sampled. All right. I'm going to go back to the create new selection. I'm going to hit Control D, and then I'm going to start cutting my subject, meaning this table, and the shoes out of the background. And I do that by first selecting the background. Often it's easier to select the background because it's seamless and there's a lot less going on over there. Now I'm going to click, and Photoshop is going to create the base for my selection. And now I need to add to my selection. And instead of going up to the tools options bar to click on the add to selection icon, I'm going to hold down shift. And if you look at my cursor, I now have a plus icon added to my cursor, to the Magic Wand icon, and I'm just going to click while holding shift at the new areas that I want to add to my selection, and here we go. And I'm going to hit Control plus to zoom in to the shoes, and I'm going to add to my selection over here. And look how simple this is, really easy to work with. And I'm going to hit Control 0 to fit in screen. And now I'm going to go to my layers panel and create a mask. And if you notice, it created the mask and it kept only my background, but I want to keep my foreground. So I'm going to make sure that I'm selecting the mask itself, and I'm going to hit Control I to invert the mask. And there you go. I've cut my foreground out of my background with the Magic Wand tool. If you liked the video, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.